You, the iRacing community, selected what series we're going to show on Friday night, and well, you selected the road to the Indy 500, the Verizon IndyCar Series, run number 1, taking place at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We are so excited to introduce you to the IR18. New car, old track, fantastic racing, coming up next. Once again, photo finish here of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerritt at the line. We are on the road to the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and welcome to Friday Night Prime Time that will be taking place all season long from the Verizon IndyCar Series. I'm not going to lie, I feel like a kid in the candy store right now. The Dallara IR18 just making its season debut at the streets of St. Petersburg just a few days ago. We've got it here on iRacing, and it is our focus point for this season on Friday Night Prime Time. Will Vincent with Jack Stiles replacing Connery Maddock here today. And well, Jack, I'm so excited!
I know you are, and it's amazing to see this IR18 in the iRacing service so close to the start of the season, and it's amazing to see them manage to get the car out so quickly. And I did have a quick drive when it first came out, and it's so nice to drive compared to the DW12, and it's just great to see it in the service. And I think New Hampshire is going to be a great place to get this season started. Yeah,
this is a tough and challenging racetrack at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The banking is 4/7 grade, and it's step banking, and compared to some of the other tracks that we go to, this is a tough challenge for our drivers. 130 laps we're doing here today. It's 137 miles at the Magic Mile, just over a mile in itself. And well, the conditions here today, it's cool, it's overcast, wind speeds are 10 kilometers an hour, and that means that the situation we sometimes have at New Hampshire, where you get yourself into the, let's say, 8 tenths of a second behind another driver, that's gone.
Banking here as well is going to be a big factor. Each lane is a different level of banking, which makes it so much harder for the driver. And New Hampshire always throws up good racing, and I think we're definitely going to see a long race today for these drivers. They just need to keep cool heads. Obviously, we'll probably see portions at some point. A small grid, only 17 cars, so won't be as hectic as it would be.
Yeah, indeed so. And they are the people that help us with the broadcast. Overlay designs from Andres Warner and One Design. TV cameras from Istvan Balau, trackcams22.com. Simon Grossman, appgeneer.in for all the amazing overlay animations. Light timing and scoring will be available during the race as well. Qualifying is over. The grid is coming up for you now. And Henry Bennett, pole position then, 21.413 for him. Austin Espartee alongside him on the front row there, Jack.
Good front row, strong front row as well. Henry and Austin are both two drivers who we see quite far up in the IndyCar community and always doing well in these IndyCars.
Yeah, Adam Blocker inside of row number 2. Andrew Kinsella alongside him. We've seen these guys, of course, in the Indy Elite Series, which comes to you Sunday night. We're broadcasting the road to the 500 of the Indy Elite Series as well. Now Bride, P5, Alexander Dallara in P6, Michele Constantini in 7th, John Downing in 8th place. 9th place is Gordon Newjocks, Andreas Eek in 10th, Ricky Gerhardt in 11th, and Richard Holt in 12th. 13th will go to UC Niemann, 14th place to Igor Shugov, and then Pete Harrod, Benjamin Gregory, and Scott Bolster will round out your field. It's time to go racing here in the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series, and we are so happy to be with you all season long. One pace lap here, Jack, at New Hampshire Motor Speedway before we go racing, and it's going to be 130 laps, and the starts and the restarts here are oh so important.
It's so easy to mess up as well. We've seen it in series before, such as the Classic IndyCar Series. It's so easy to make a mistake on the restarts, and especially on the start. You're going to be having a lot of pressure. It's a long race. You just need to keep a cool, calm head, as I said. And these drivers, they're good in the IndyCars. They're used to them, so hopefully they'll be able to do that.
And we're on the road to the 9th annual iRacing Indy 500, one of the longest running events in the history of sim racing. The greatest spectacle in all of sim racing in itself. Yes, there might be a NASCAR sign on top of the timing pylon, but from now until the end of May, it's all about IndyCar. And for these guys, this season is all about getting themselves ready for that legendary 500-mile race.
Again, Indy 500, it's the pinnacle for any Indy driver, and I know for a fact that Henry Bennett and Austin will both be looking at trying to win that event, and we've obviously got drivers in here who have tried, and Michele Constantini, famous in the IndyCar community, for every single time he gets on a broadcast at Indy, he manages to find the wall. Yeah. And hopefully we'll be having better luck this year, but obviously we'll wait and find out in May.
Yep, so let's look at this racetrack. Set in New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the drivers are running themselves on that parade lap right now. There we are on board of Austin Espartee. We get ourselves ready to go racing in just one moment's time. So welcome to the Verizon IndyCar Series, and welcome to all the fun it is going to be. The pace car is going to head itself then through turn number 3 and 4, and we are going to get ourselves ready for racing. Friday night prime time comes home to the Verizon IndyCar Series, and we are going green. Bit of a lax start, actually, and a little bit of too-wide racing going on at the front of your pack. Behind, we've got a little bit of too-wide racing going on as well, but the important thing is we've got a battle going on right now for the race lead. Down to the inside, Austin Espartee is going to go for it as they come through corner number 3 and 4, and Austin Espartee will take the race lead away at the end, lap number 1.
Good move there by Austin, just using that little bit of overspeed on Henry Bennett, and Henry Bennett got a good start, but Austin obviously just got a slightly better one. He's extending that lead now slightly. It's out to just over half a second now, and Henry Bennett, I'm pretty sure he's now under challenge from the number 3 car, Van Blocker. Blocker's going to look down to the inside. Is he going to be able to get the move done coming off of 3 and 4? No, he's not. Henry Bennett is just going to hold that, but here comes the number 17 car, I believe that is of Alessandro Dallara.
Yeah, as we go on board right now with Dallara, currently running in that 3rd position. You can just see it. We'll turn that camera around. He's got himself the driver of Adam Blocker right behind him. So Blocker has lost 3 places there in the early stage of this lap, but he comes down to the inside of Dallara again. And one of the key things about this track is as well, is that you have yourself the inside and the outside grooves. And the outside groove really can work here if you know what you're doing. Dallara and Blocker is still going at it on the run down into 4.
Dallara just looks like he's got that higher groove working really well for him at the moment. He's up 3 positions from where he started, and his lap times aren't too far off the fastest lap of Austin Espartee, 22.7 second lap from Espartee, who's currently in the lead. But Dallara looks as though that just really settled in those opening few laps. Yeah,
there's your top 4 drivers then working themselves on the exit of turn number 2. Behind, battle for B number 5 going on. Michele Constantini going down to the inside right now. Race spot stick on his card. That means 0.2 of a second advantage, of course. Through turn number 3 and 4 they come, and he moves himself ahead of John Downing. Downing into 6th place right now. We have stayed green at the start of this lap race. And what the thing about this racetrack is, as Richard Holt is on pit road, this is a race where cautions can really upset the apple cart in so many different ways.
I think it's just stated in the classic IndyCar Series last year when we were here, Will, and obviously battling between Robert Grosser and Lucas Seville. I think I know they're watching at home, so they're probably going to get a bit of a abusive message off them later, but the cautions can just unsettle the drivers and settle the cars as well, because the tyres can just lose pressure and lose tyre temperature. At the moment, it just looks like everyone else is staying settled. Just Alessandro Dalladoni is just having a little bit of a challenge there from Adam Blocker. Blocker's going to use that inside line to his advantage. Dalladoni is going to hold the position for now, but it looks as though Blocker's got that inside line working really well, but Dalladoni is making that high groove work just as well.
Yeah, that's Dalladoni there on the outside as they work themselves still side by side down the back straightaway in towards turn number 3 and 4. Dalladoni taking a really high approach there, almost putting himself towards the safer barrier on the outside, but it will be Adam Blocker that remains in 3rd place. 4th place, Alessandro Dalladoni and Constantini running P number 5 right now. And here now we see Blocker. He's looking for another position as he comes down right behind Henry Bennett now in battle for P number 2.
Henry Bennett is now going to come under a challenge. Blocker's going to look down to the low line. Henry Bennett is going to try and stay high in the number 1 machine, and I don't think Blocker's just going to be able to get it done at the moment. Let's have a look. Coming down into the lower groove. He's been proven to show that works well for him. Bennett's going to be left high, and yeah, I think that's actually going to be good for Blocker. They're going to still be running side by side. Henry's just going to have a little bit of the overspeed into 3 and 4 now. Blocker again is going to try and make the move, and I think he might have got it stuck coming out of 4 this time.
Yep, still side by side, and that allows Alexander Dalladoni to stay there in battle. But what it does mean is Austin SMT now has a 1.5 second advantage over the entire field. Side by side they go once again as they work themselves down the back straight away, and you got yourself now Henry Bennett versus Adam Blocker. They almost think about going 3 wide in towards turn number 3. That ain't gonna happen. Number 1 machine of Henry Bennett then in 3rd place. Blocker up into 2nd place. What a run right now by Adam Blocker in the number 3 car.
Adam Blocker has got that high groove down to a T in that number 3 car, and he's just showing it's making that work. Henry Bennett now under challenge from Alessandro Dalladoni. Dalladoni going to go down to the inside. Henry Bennett has been dumped out wide on the top groove, and Dalladoni, look at that, straight down the inside wheel. But here we go, Henry Bennett going to be fighting back, and wow, the overspeed off of 3 and 4 there for Henry Bennett was just too much for Dalladoni. He has been left in the clutches of Michele Constantini, and Constantini wants a piece of this.
Yeah, so Constantini coming back into play as well. Having looked, by the way, we have got all drivers bar 1 running in this race. One of those drivers not running is the driver of Richard Holt. We saw him coming on towards pit road earlier, damaged the suspension of that race car, number 7 machine on pit road, and now coming out and away after getting some repairs to that race car. Gorg Newjocks versus Andreas Eek. That is going on down in your mid-pack right now. Newjocks losing out to number 10 car, but they are still close, battling for P number 9.
P number 9, I was just last position for the top 10 here. Vital points for the series as well. Here we go. Newjog down to the inside. I think he's just going to make it work. The number 8 machine is going to get him right up into 9th position. Andreas Eek is just going to lose back down into 10th. He is going to be left in the clutches of Gerhardt when he can try and close that gap. Greg Nugent's next target for him is Niall McBride, just a second up the road. Yeah, let's go back though and have a look on board with the driver of Alessandro Dalladoni. Got a little bit of damage, it looks, on the front wing of that race car, and was looking a little bit high as the drivers worked themselves through turns number 3 and 4 that last time by. Dalladoni taking the kind of outside then onto inside lane as they work through turn number 2 that time by. But Dalladoni, I just think, is starting to struggle a little bit toe, and here actually comes Constantini. Constantini has the advantage all of a sudden. They all go side by side as they work down towards 1 once again. We go on board with Constantini, and he says thank you very much for a moment. Whoa! And that was close. That was very close. Michele just got sideways then. That was unfortunate contact between him and Alessandro Dalladoni. Michele, though, just managing to keep it. Although I do believe there is now damage on that number 4 car. No, there's not. Not that I can see anyway. So Michele got away with that unscathed. He's just lost a position.
Yeah, and there we are. There's a look from Michele Constantini. We'll get one more look on board with him, shall we, as we go on board with the driver of Michele Constantini down and towards turn number 1. Let's listen in. There we are. There's the contact between the two. That could have been a pretty big wreck there between the two of those drivers, but they stay it online. Constantini down in P number 5, Dalladoni in P number 4. But let's go back and talk about Austin Esmeti, because he's got a bit of an issue right now. He almost had some traffic to deal with, but the gap that he's got is 1.4 seconds over Adam Blocker. Blocker is starting to reel him in.
Blocker's set the fastest lap of the race as well, a 22.4, so he is on a charge. He is currently running quicker than Austin Espartee as well, so Espartee really needs to be scared about Blocker coming from behind. We know he's strong, he's been leading this race from the very start, and obviously still 110 laps to go. We could get cautions, and that could shake everything up here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, let's have a look at the movers and shakers in this event so far. Coming up on the left-hand side of your screen, note the fact that Blocker is at one place. We've got a driver just coming out of pit road right now, by the way. Alexander Dallara is up 2 places, as is Constantini. So there's not been too many movers and shakers in this event so far. We are looking to see one driver try and drive up through the field. But Nalek Bride and Kinsella, they've both lost out at the start of this event.
Your biggest mover and shaker at the moment, actually, is down towards the rear of your pack. Benjamin Gregory, he's up 4 places on where he started. Haven't really talked too much about him at the moment. He's just been having a bit of a quiet race in that number 12 Fitstart Motorsport machine, and he's just sort of keeping himself out of trouble, and that's what you need to do here at New Hampshire. You just need to run a good, clean race, and it's a long race. Anything can happen.
Yep, so here we are actually on board of Benjamin Gregory. You can see that he's got a bit of way to go, though, to catch up to Ricky Gerhardt in the Starbucks car. 2.4 seconds right now. Ricky Gerhardt taking the Wolverhampton Starbucks livery away, putting it on to their car. And I'm on one hand glad that there's a Starbucks livery back in the IndyCar Series, because let's be honest, it's been about 4,000 years since I've run it in myself. But I want that to be more one.
It does. The Starbucks livery does look amazing, and I'm not going to say too much about Ben Gregory's livery, because I'm biased towards that team, of course. It's my own. So Ben Gregory just running a nice run, but Ricky Gerhardt will be noticing that Ben is making up positions and just watching in that number 13 machine. Yeah, right now let's go back towards the front of your field and let's have a look. The ongoing battle between Henry Bennett and Adam Blocker. We go on board right now with the driver of Henry Bennett. He's actually now 4.3 seconds behind Adam Blocker. Bennett's got a little bit of battling going on with the driver of Alexander Dallara in the 4th position. But P1 and 2 have really pulled away from this field. Also worth noting, Jack, we're talking off air, that this race can produce a lot of cautions. We've got 26 laps into this motor race, not a single one so far. That's rare, actually, for New Hampshire. Usually we see a few incidents, but obviously the smaller field just meaning that everyone's running a bit of a nice race. Here we go. Dallara is going to look down to the low side on Henry Bennett. He's going to run the low groove. Henry Bennett is going to run the very high groove. And look at this. Dallara looks like he's got the move done, but here comes the number 1 machine of Henry Bennett. So close to the wall there for Henry, but he's held that position from Alessandro Dallara.
The outside line works so well as Dallara gets a better run then. Out of corner number 2, down towards 3 and 4 they come again. And that really does sum up this racetrack, that most ovals, they always say, the shortest way around the racetrack is the better way around the racetrack. Not here on the Hampshire Motor Speedway. That 3rd and 4th line around this racetrack seems to work so well for these drivers.
Everyone just seems to be able to get those setups to work really well. Dallara going to look down to the low side once again. Everyone's going to run the same line. Henry Bennett, he's showing that high groove is working. Look at that round the outside, not even off the corner yet. Here comes Michele Constantini on Donny. Constantini going to look down to the low side in the number 4 machine, and he might be able to get the move done, but Dallara is going to run the high line, which Henry Bennett has proved that it's already quicker. I think, actually, the high line is favouring these cars here today. Yeah, as we look at this battle going on, and Dallara is looking desperate right now over the driver of Henry Bennett. They know they are losing time. They've lost 2 seconds in the last 5 laps here, Jack, as they've been fighting it out. Dallara switching, weaving around as they come through turn number 1 and 2 once again. But I think Dallara, he thinks that if he can get past him, he can actually pull away. But passing is one thing here as he comes down to 3 and 4 again. He cannot do a thing. And again, now Constantini's going to put him under pressure out of 4. Dallara is just trying the high line, but Henry Bennett seems to be matching him on the high line as well. So at the moment, not really much going on in this battle. Should also be noted that Adam Blocker is now within 6/10 of Austin Espartee, even closer now. Look at that. He can get them into the same frame almost, Will. Adam Blocker is on a charge, and I don't really see how Espartee is going to be able to defend from this one. He
has closed that gap down from 1.4 seconds down to almost nothing. We're on board right now with Adam Blocker in the number 3 machine. He has been so good in the Indy Elite Series to start off this season, but Austin Espartee has been exactly the same. We've got a battle now going on for your race leaders. They work themselves through corner number 3 and 4, although Blocker, we have to say, is in that dirty air as it stands. Behind Dallara, Henry Bennett, they're side by side going on, so they work themselves out of corner number 3 and 4, down towards 1 and 2 once again. Dallara versus Bennett, nothing happening there, but behind Gordon Newjox there, trying the outside line versus the driver of Michele Constantini, and the driver of Newjox now, let's go on board of him, not able to do anything yet, but trying the outside line, and it's working to an extent with him.
That high groove as well, just slightly more banking, Will. It might be able to let these cars just carry a little bit more speed. They're not reaching the 200 mile an hour mark here, but they're getting very close. 290, 300 kph. Look at this. George Lucas is trying to look to the outside of Michele Constantini. Constantini, though, he's just finding speed on the low side. He's one of the cars that I have seen today getting that low groove to work, and it just seems to be that everyone else is trying to go for the higher groove, and Michele there just slotting into a gap that didn't exist for him.
Yes, we go on board with Michele Constantini. Worth noting, by the way, that Adam Blocker has fallen back a little bit over the last couple of laps compared to Austin Esposito. The dirty air is working for in a negative way for Adam Blocker. Worth noting, actually, we talked about the air temperature here at this racetrack. It means that passing at the start of a run is easier, but as we go side by side, Constantini then looking himself down as they go through turn number 1 and 2. Newjox then will gain the position, so Newjox now up into P number 5, but Constantini looking to try and do it back as they come. Also, Henry Bennett then and Gordon Newjox, so Henry Bennett and Dallara even through turn number 3 and 4, and Bennett again losing out as now Constantini up into the third, sorry, Dallara even up into the third place here. Dallara finally got the job done.
Wonder whether Henry Bennett is just having a few problems with his setup today. His car does not look as settled as he probably wants it to be. His lap times are down a bit as well on the other guys that are ahead and behind him. So I think Henry Bennett might be just having a few problems with his car, and Dallara is taking good advantage of that. I expect to see George Newcross as well, just taking advantage of that. Michaela as well will probably want some of this. Henry Bennett is clearly struggling with that number 1 machine. Yeah,
Noah McBride right now putting a battle on Andrew Kinsella as they work themselves through in the exit of turn number 2. So to give you a run through, Dallara has got himself past Henry Bennett right now. Apologies for that one. But you got the battle still going on. Newjox and Constantini. Battle going on with Kinsella and now McBride. And you've also got battles going on a little bit further down as well. Andreas Eek and John Downing. They have been scrapping at it. Austin Esposito, let's go back to your race leader though, versus Adam Blocker. Blocker is back there in tow. Also worth noting there's some traffic to play with as well as the guys come through 1 and 2.
Traffic is going to be a big part in this race, Will, because they've obviously got to find their way around the traffic, and just looking on board from Adam Blocker, you're going to be able to see how much he's working that car, how much he's working it to try and get it in a minute around this traffic. So I think he's just going to be watching SPT, watching the lines he's taken, and then following him. Yep,
as we go on board with hashtag nose cam. How great was it to see nose cam in the the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg race? Fantastic camera angles that IndyCar come up for 2018.
I will admit I haven't seen the St. Pete race yet. I'm going to go and watch over the next few days, but I've heard there's some good moments from it, and I'll look out for that. Yeah, as we go back on board, Adam Blocker in towards turn number 1 and 2. Lap traffic ahead. That is the driver of Peter Harrod. That both of them is going to come past. I'm almost going to kind of NASCAR mode here, Jack, at Bristol or Martinsville, where these drivers are getting into that dirty air and it becomes very difficult to necessarily pass the car just ahead, as this is one thing that they're going to have to pay attention to now over the next couple of corners. Will your race leader, there's Austin Esposito, he's through. Adam Blocker, is he going to get down to the inside? It's going to be tricky for him in towards turn number 3 and 4. He will get himself past as well, so move them both up a position. And actually it's the driver of Scott Bolster who they are putting a lap down as we go on board of him. Looks as though John Down, oh actually, what's happened to Henry Bennett? He stopped.
Yeah, we've got a caution, first caution of the day. Henry Bennett is out of this moderation. The replay is coming up for you now. He slowed it down. Okay, so there must have been something that happened, I think, through turn number 3 and... Oh, so this was an incident down at turn number 3 and 4 by the looks of it. We're on board again with Bennett now. This is him down the back straight away. He's got himself the Vortex Sim Racing driver just ahead of Gordon Newjox, and then Bennett hits a wall in towards turn number 3 and 4, holds the outside line, and that car is just undrivable for him.
Looks like there's quite a bit of quite extensive damage to the right-hand side of that one machine. It just looks as though there's a bit of contact as well. Unlucky for them. That's going to bunch everyone back up. That's going to bring this lead back into it.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting they tried to go 3 wide there on the run down in towards turn number 3 and 4. Did not happen for them. So Austin SPC's lead is gone. Everyone should be thinking, no, they're not. Split strategy time here. The 2 leaders have been hung out to dry. So SPC's coming towards pit road. Block is coming towards pit road. And is everyone else? Yeah, they are all coming in behind them. That's lap cars that are staying out on the racetrack. So SPT will bring the field on towards pit road here. And now is the first real challenge for SPT. Can he come out in front of all these other rivals around him? We're looking at the pit stop timer for Austin SPT, and he will. He will just about come out there. SPT then Blocker, P number 1, P number 2, then a donate in the 3rd place as well. Constantini at 1, New Drox down 1 as well. The pit stop time there for Austin SPT was 8.1 seconds. Blocker shorter on the fuel gun there, but could not make up the time.
Looks as though some very different times in pit stops all around sort of the 8-second mark. So everyone's running probably full fuel, full tyres, and back out we go, ready for the restart.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break here, ladies and gentlemen, on Racebot TV. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Austin SPT leading the way right now. 1 lap to go at the line. Here are your top 8 as it stands. And it is Austin SPT who is leading the way from Adam Blocker, Alexander Dalladoni in 3rd, Constantini in 4th, Nujox in 5th, Andrew Kinsella, Norbert Bryan, and John Browning round out your top 8. Here's the interesting one. As the lights go off on top of the pace car. Blocker on this restart, he needs to be really, really on top of it as they work themselves from 1 and 2.
Blocker needs to be straight on the power when he needs to be, and it looks as though Henry Bennett is getting the wave around. But Adam Blocker, he just needs to nail this restart, and if he can nail this restart, he is going to find his way into the lead as long as Austin SPT doesn't beat him to it. We are on the road, ladies and gentlemen, to the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, which we hear on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live. So it doesn't matter whether you are a World Championship driver or just a driver starting out. Join iRacing today, and you can have a chance in taking part in the greatest spectacle in all of sim racing. Pace car is going to make itself on towards pit road. SPT leading the way, single file restart over Adam Blocker. We will take you back to green here on Racebot TV as the green flag comes back out, and a fantastic restart there by Austin SPT. He timed that one perfectly. As behind, you got yourself Alexander Dalladoni trying to fight it out of Adam Blocker, and behind, you got close racing with Ricky Gerhardt and Benjamin Gregory. Benjamin Gregory, obviously, he's up 6 places now. He used those pit stops to his advantage. He's running in the top 10. First time he's going to be there, and we're going to be looking back up towards the front of your field. Looks as though Constantini and Dalladoni are having a good scrap for P number 3. Constantini is going to want to, he's going to look down to the low groove. He's shown that work so far today. He's going to be left, right, looking, and there we go, down to the inside of Dalladoni. He's going to have to run the low groove. Dalladoni is going to go high. He's straddling 2 lanes. You don't really want to do that here at New Hampshire. That can unsettle the car just a little bit. Dalladoni just showing that high groove is really working here today. Yeah, Constantini has to remain in 4th place. He's on the outside. You got Blocker. Blocker's had an issue. Yellow flag out. There's Blocker. Oh my word.
Big crash for him. So second caution in a few laps here, and let's have a look at the replay. On board with Adam Blocker. I want to know if there's any contact at this point. I think he might have lost it by himself. We're on board with him.
All on his own. Rear end got away from him coming into one.
Yeah, he had that anti-roll bar, that weight jacket too high, because that back end stepped out before he even really committed to the corner. So Adam Blocker out of the motor race. That's your P2 driver, losing it all by himself.
I mean, he is going to try and get it back to the pit lane and get repairs done on that car, but there is a lot of damage on that car, Will. Basically, the rear end of the car is missing. He had it all four wheels into the fence, and that's race over for Adam, surely. Back in a few moments here on Racewhat TV. Once again, photo finish here of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerit at the line. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series returns tomorrow here on Racewhat TV and on iRacing Live. And don't forget, Martin Kroenke has a shot at making history there versus Gregor Hutu in the most wins in a row. Catch it tomorrow from Interlagos here on Racewhat TV, iRacing Live, Twitch TV, Facebook Live. Thank you very much, by the way, to everyone watching here on Racewhat TV today. Shout out to Salma Ladak. Party at Salma's as the pace car pulls itself on towards pit road, and we are green once again here. Fantastic run there. New jocks going side by side. So Constantini, that's actually Kinsella. Kinsella looking down to the inside right now. Kinsella's been oh so strong in Indy Elite this season. Looking to try and make a move again. Not able to do so this time by. Look, good restart from everyone else. It just looks as though everyone's got nice away and cleanly. Austin Esparti is going to be continuing his lead at the front. He's got no challenges now really from anyone. Alessandro Dalladoni could be a threat, but he's shown already that he's quicker than Dalladoni and everyone else in the field. So Esparti, I mean, unless he just keeps it, as long as he keeps it clean, I think he's got a good chance of taking this, Will.
Yeah, so here we are then, having a look at that Cancilla versus Nuglock's battle. Nothing's happening there, but Dallara second place right now versus Austin SPT. Well, we knew that Dallara was trying to make the move earlier on in this race amongst other drivers. Now he's going for the race lead, and Dallara, I think if he can get past, this will give him the opportunity to really pull away. But for Dallara, he's like, oh my word, that was a weird way to go around the number 1 machine there, who's classified as laps down. That's Henry Bennett right now, back on track 2 laps down, as Dallara gets a bit of a run.
Henry Bennett came down onto pit lane. He was the only driver who came down onto the pit lane in the last stop. He's made 4 stops now, more than anyone else in this race so far, Will. So he's not having the race he wanted. Everyone else at the moment just seeming like he's good. We've got a train of 8 cars. Then we've got Benjamin Gregory running all on his own. And then we've got a couple of battles lower down in the field. But here we go. Alessandro Dallara, Michaela Constantini. They're going to be going at it. Constantini down onto the lower groove. Dallara is going to hold that higher groove and just going to make it work.
Yep, so Constantini then has to remain in 3rd place for the time being. Lap number 60 or 130, getting ourselves close then to halfway. These drivers are fueled up, but they're not necessarily fueled all the way to the finish. And another caution will make this strategy very, very interesting. As down towards 1 and 2 they come once again. We've got ourselves 14 drivers remaining in the race that are running on track. We've lost Adam Blocker, Andreas Eek, and Richard Holt. Henry Bennett classified as 2 laps down right now. As we've got ourselves down McBride and Kinsella. So McBride, oh, we've got a spinner, that's Ricky Gerhardt. And we don't go yellow, not yet. Gerhardt trying to spin that car around. Right now, going to take the access road. No, bringing it back on track. What you doing there, Gerhardt? You're on a live racetrack right now. But let's get ourselves... Yeah, there we are. We got yellow as a consequence. Oh, no, we've lost McBride as well. McBride's had an issue. So that's what causes the yellow. Now McBride has had an issue. 2 replays, 1 time. Here we are. It's like Ricky Gerhardt. Let's rewind this tape a little bit. There we go. On board Ricky Gerhardt. Through turn number 1, through turn number 2. Back end, scoopsy potato. Just tags the front end of that car. Able to stay going. Well, let's then turn our attention to now McBride, because McBride has an issue as well. And a lot of this comes down, Jack, to the fact that these drivers are doing a lot of work in their cars with the anti-roll bars, with the weight jacker. McBride, he slips there between 2 of the grooves and hits the rear end.
Those different bankings on the grooves just showing that any driver can become a victim to them. And as you said, Will, these cars need constant adjustment, as we see everyone coming down onto the pit lane already. It hasn't been that many laps since, it hasn't been laps since that many laps since the last pit stop. So looks as though Ricky Gerhardt is staying out along with Scott Boyster and, in fact, Michaela Constantini as well. So some split strategies going on here, Will. This is going to make this race extremely interesting, especially if it runs green the rest of the way. We've still got 68 and a bit laps remaining. I don't expect it to go green all the way to the end, but this could make this race extremely interesting between pit strategies. Well,
this is what I was saying. Is that, you know, because of the fact we've now got 2 different pit strategies going on, it will make this race interesting because tyres will become a big factor here. We go back to the Indy Elite Series race that was in the DW12, and we saw it become a big thing over the last couple of laps. Now, 3rd caution of the day, just getting ourselves close to halfway, and we've got ourselves a couple of people who stayed out that last turn. Brian Michelle Constantini is one of them, but everyone else behind decides to come towards pit road. That creates a couple of issues, because now there's a lot of people who scored a lap down, who are pinned a lap down. They are Scott Bolstra, Igor, UC Neiman, and Pete Harrow. They are all going to stay a lap down, and Constantini will stay out, and all these lap cars deciding, well, we might as well go back to the rear of the line, but they are really in a tough situation right now.
Just in some more car. Actually, everyone who looked like they stayed out, apart from Michaela Constantini, has now come down onto the lane. Yeah. So Michaela is the only one who is not pitting on this caution period, it looks like, and he is running a very dangerous strategy, I would say. If it runs green, he has to make a green flag pit stop to get to the end. Everyone else should be okay from here.
Yeah, and don't forget, there's so much IndyCar racing coming your way on the run to the 500. We've got ourselves the Indy Elite Series. They've just been here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. They're heading themselves over to the Milwaukee Mile in just a few days' time. That's one thing that's going on. We'll see that Sunday night here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live. But Jack, we also go old school with the classic IndyCar Series, the IR05 making its return, and we absolutely love the classic IndyCar Series presented by Logical.
that series is such a good series. The drivers are all extremely friendly in that. I've become accustomed to that series. It was my first ever broadcast on RaceBot, and I'm so glad to be back. They're obviously not running an Indy 500 this year, Will. They're having a Pocono 500 instead.
Oh, yes.
We announced last night that the pace car driver will be myself. And I would be driving the Audi 90 GTO. A bit of a different pace car, but it could be quite interesting to watch me try and drive that while commentating, Will. And I mean, I'm so looking forward to that series. That kicks off at, I've got to think now. I think it's Homestead, Miami.
Yeah, Homestead, Miami
in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the traditional home for the start of an IndyCar season. I'll tell you one thing as well there, Jack. Matt Cook, one of the most accomplished drivers in the history of the iRacing IndyCar Series. He's coming to CIS.
We've got a brilliant entry list for CIS. I did a pre-season show yesterday with Robert and Lucas, the two league organisers, and we went through the entry list in quite a lot of detail. It took us about 25 minutes. We're coming around to the green.
Yeah, indeed so. So we'll talk about it a little bit more of that. Log in the outside line then. Michele Constantini with the race lead. We come back to green here at New Hampshire. Green flag back in the air. Constantini, good run actually there. He's on older tyres, so 21 lap stint there compared to Dallara et behind Kinsella. New drop side by side.
Just looks as though Dallara as well was trying to go early on Michaela, but the green flag hadn't dropped and Michaela hadn't gone. So obviously Michaela, he's going to be struggling on those older tyres, already making them work. He's got a half a second gap over Alessandro Dallara. Everyone else out on the racetrack at the moment has got newer tyres. They're all on fresh rubber. Michaela Constantini's tyres are 22 laps old now, and they're going to be starting to feel it in this track conditions. But at the moment, everyone seems to be running nice and well, and no, everyone running line astern.
Yeah, just past halfway then. Lap number 68 complete here. Dallara half a second behind Constantini. Constantini with that good restart. Protect him for a few laps, and now Dallara in that dirty air. Now, Dallara, if he wants to go to the race lead, needs to do so, and I'd say in the next 5 laps or so. Otherwise, he will lose the advantage. This field now getting really spread out because everyone's all of a sudden just kind of in that dirty air of everyone else.
Henry Bennett as well, not having a good day. He's just found the wall coming out of turn 2. His race looks like it must be over by now. Heavy damage on that number 1 machine. But Alessandro Dallara, he's clearly using that draft to the advantage. He set a new fastest lap of a 22.325. We're getting very close to the 21-second mark here. Here now, Will, and Michele Constantini is doing a brilliant job up at the front on these 25-lap-old tyres. He's maybe showing that his strategy is going to work well, but I think he's going to be hoping for a caution towards the end of this race.
You say 21 seconds, I just want to go tut, tut, tut and bring it a bit of old-school garage right now, but we're into that phase of the race, as I say, where everyone's kind of spread out a little bit. So let's go through the field here on RaceBot TV and on iRacing Live. Let's start with Michele Constantini leading the way, taking over that race lead through strategy. Now he is on older tyres, and he's on older tyres by 18 laps over everyone else, but he's been able to withstand that restart and actually pulling away a little bit.
He's really doing well. He's got his gap out now to 0.8 per second over Alessandro Dallara, and Dallara as well has managed to pull out 1.3 seconds over Austin Espity. Espity doesn't look as strong as he did at the start of this race, Will, and he's now under fire from George Newcastle as well, who's in the number 8 machine. And I think George could be a very strong contender for a podium come the end of this race.
Yeah, second place, Alessandro Dallara, as I say, 0.8 of a second now behind your race leader, but still pulling away from the driver of Austin Espity. And while there's that mellow yellow car of Alessandro Dallara then doing a good job. And this is a situation where if you're Dallara, you can't get yourself to the race lead. You want to stay right where you are within a second, turn laps, knowing the fact that Constantini will have to come back on towards pit road.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Dallara is just going to know in his head that Constantini has to pit at some point. He's not going to be able to do the 56 laps that remain in this race on 1 tank of fuel. He's got to pit again, get new boots on that car, get a full tank of fuel, and out away he goes. Dallara is going to want to take that into his advantage. At the moment, the only battle that I can see on track is between Austin Espity and George Newcastle, and as well, the other one down towards the rear of your field between Yusin Neiman and Pete Harrod.
Yeah, let's turn over to Austin Espity then. Currently in 3rd place, 2.5 seconds behind your race leader. And you're right, Espity started this race so strong, let's say, many laps early on. But in this kind of like middle run that we've got going on, he's just struggling a little bit. And I will actually say that Espartito, all of a sudden, he's starting to fade away in this race a little bit. Now, he is currently scored as 1.3 seconds behind Dallara, and I'm wondering, maybe that car is set up to run in clean air and not in traffic.
I wonder whether I'm thinking the same, or maybe he's just pushed himself too hard in the opening stages of this race and just can't make it work again coming towards the end. I mean, we're past the halfway mark now in this race, and I wonder whether Austin Espartito is just getting a little bit worn out, a little bit tired, and that car is starting to show a bit of wear. But it also could be the setup. I know that these cars have had a few patches to them over the last couple of days, Will, and I've seen some complaints about the setups as well, that there have been a few issues with it, and I think everyone has just tried to dial it out for this race at the last minute, but maybe Austin Espartito is just struggling with that car.
Fourth place, Gognujoc, still hunting down Espartito. Gap 4/10 of a second right now between the two of them. We go back and forth then with the driver of Gognujoc from that Vortex Sim Racing car. Vortex Sim Racing, of course, are a team that are now synonymous with the IndyCar Series. They started off in IndyCar back in 2012. They've been going for 6 years now. They've had dabbles in both the Blancpain GT Series and also the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Gognujoc's a former black stripe driver, as we like to call him, but right now Nujoc is trying to find a way keeping in tow of Austin Espartito.
If you think of any two IndyCar teams that spring to mind for me, a Team Afterburner and Vortex Sim Racing, and they're such a strong team. We see them running the Neo Endurance Series in the prototype class, and obviously, as you said, they have been a pro series in the Blancpain GT or actually
VRS.
Like VRS, yes, it's had a name change, and also Dallara has managed to make his way past Michaela.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a replay of that one, because that's a big moment here. Battle for the race lead. Alexander Dallara then, number 17 car to the point. And let's go and have a look. Oh, Constantini had a huge wiggle off of one. But let's go and have a look. There is that driver, Michele Constantini, and almost loses it there through turn number 3 and 4. Those tires have just hit a cliff.
Those tyres have just driven off the cliff, I think, Will. He's struggling so much for grip. I'm just watching other drivers come past him. Michaela has to bring that car down onto the lane this time. Look at that. The number 9 machine just breezing around the outside. Andrew Kinsella, Michaela's just got into the wall. His tyres are definitely shot now. He has to bring that down onto the lane. I think his race is over now for him. He's got damage on that number 4 machine, and his tyres are basically like driving on rocks.
Yeah, so the situation, I think, for Constantini has been simple. He overdrove those tyres, and they've just hit the cliff and fallen off the cliff right now. He's staying out on the racetrack, which is an interesting scenario for him. He's now down in P number 5 after leading this motor race. Just 5 laps to go. So Dallara now is your new leader. Gap over Austin Espartito, 2.3 seconds, but that's a warning sign to everyone this field. Once those tyres get to about 34, 35 laps in, they seem to be struggling, especially if you work them too hard. And Constantini right now losing another place to John Downing.
Dalladono's crew chief. In fact, he's got 2. He's just going to be. They're going to be both be looking at the stint lengths for Michaela. He's approaching 40 laps on those tyres now, and they're going to be telling Alessandro, don't push the tyres because they will hit a cliff and they will fall off. We've just seen it happen for Michaela. He got loose through 3 and 4, and then actually hit the wall through 3 and 4 a couple of laps later. So, I think these tyres, they won't really do any more than 35 laps without any big issues.
Yeah, of course, some would argue and joke about the fact that hitting the wall might just tighten that car up enough. And again, in-car tools might be a big part of that. So the drivers have themselves the anti-roll bars, both front and rears, and also the weight jacker that they can play around with. And the thing about New Hampshire Motor Speedway is that certain tracks you can get away with just using a weight jacker jack. Certain tracks you just get away using the anti-roll bars. Here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, you've got to have a fine balance between all of them. And just look at how quickly Benjamin Gregory is catching up to the rear Constantini. He's going down to the inside, and he makes that pass easily completing towards turn number 1. And in fact, Ricky Gerhardt could be past the driver, Michele Constantini, before too long.
Constantini, he's just playing a losing game here. I mean, I was just watching Gregory over the last lap, and he caught up that gap so quickly. He's up 10 positions now on where he started. He is having a brilliant race at the moment, Will. He's running sick. I don't think he was expecting this when he came into this, and I think at the moment he'll have a massive grin inside that helmet. He isn't too far behind. Actually, I'd say that. He's about 4 seconds behind John Downing. He's just running on his own, and here we go. Ricky Gerhardt, he's already caught up to that number 4 machine of Michaela Constantini, and Constantini is not going to be able to hold him off for very long. long.
Yeah, I mean, Constantini, I mean, this is the whole situation. You come on towards pit road, yes, you lose a lap and a half, but you gain fresher tyres, and you're about 2-3 tenths faster than anyone else. Constantini's last lap time, 25.3. That is a second slower than anyone else in this field right now.
Looks as, and also, another thing to point out, Will, Alessandro Dalla Donna is about to lap Michele Constantini. They're now both on turn number 4. Constantini has lost a lap to the leaders because of his tyres in 8 laps. He has to bring that down onto pit lane. What is he still doing out there? This is not good for him. He's losing any chance of a good position in this race.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. That's why if you bring that car on towards pit road, yes, you use a lap and a half immediately, but this guy's lost so much time. They're almost going to go 3 wide then in towards turn number 3 and 4 as he gets moved out the way almost there. Look at how slow he is compared to his competition, and all of a sudden everything's going on, and Dalla Donna has gone past. That was 10 laps, so I mean that's a bit, I'd say a pitiful strategic call there by Constantini.
That was horrible. He should have followed everyone down onto pit lane. That's one of the rules in IndyCar racing, especially on the ovals. It sounds like there was contact. I just heard it. That was not far ahead of George Newcastle. There is a car in the wall on the exit of 4. I'm just going to find out who that is for you. I do not know. Will, do you know?
No, we're having a look at New Jocks though. They're just going around easily down on the inside. We did have a car on the wall down at turn number 4. We'll try and see what we can find out for you. We've still got 12 drivers in this race. Henry Bennett was on pit road, long-term pit stop. Same there for Nell McBride as it stands right now. But let's talk about Dalla Donna now. He's leading the race. He's pulling out a gap over the driver of Austin Espartee. I say by a little bit. He actually gained himself over the last 3 laps. He gained himself about 7 tenths of a second over Austin Espartee, as Espartee struggled a little bit to get around the car of Michele Constantini. We now have 7 drivers also on the lead lap.
Don't count out Austin Espartee for this race. Obviously, one caution is all he needs. At the moment, Dalla Donna is dominating, and he's got a 2.2 seconds lead. It's actually gone out 3 tenths on this lap alone, Will. But one caution is all Austin Espartee needs to close back up that gap to Alessandro Dalla Donna. Obviously, the single file restarts are probably going to hurt him a little bit because he can't go until Dalla Donna does. But Austin Espartee, he is probably wishing for a caution at the moment, just so he can bring that car down onto pit lane, get some new tyres, and away he goes, and he can challenge for that lead.
Yeah, as we're just having a look at the gap, it's 2.1 seconds. And Gordon Newjock's just having to work himself around a bit of lap traffic. That extends the gap between himself and Austin Espartee a little bit. We've got a car. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Michele Constantini has stopped on track. Replay on your screen. We stay green. Through turn number 3 and 4, that car basically was just like, I want to turn right on an oval. And he hits a wall on the exit of turn number 3 and 4. Slows that car down, gets suspension damage to that, keeps it going. Gotta give him credit there, bringing that car off of the racing line in order to avoid a caution. But Constantini, game over.
Game over for Michele, and I think that's just unfortunate for him, but full credit to him to keeping that off the racing line and just pulling it off on the inside of turn 1 to avoid us having another caution. Obviously, another caution would have closed up that gap, and in fact, that gap was closed up between Austin Espartee and Alessandro Dalla Donna after the last few laps. Austin Espartee now is within a second and a half of Dalla Donna. Looks like he's just got a draft off the back number. That's the number 11 machine of Jussi Niemann, and Jussi Niemann just going to let him pass. Austin Espartee is making that low line run quite well at the moment, but he is catching, and actually the gap already has gone out to nearly 2 seconds. Yep,
so a lot of time lost there by Espartee as he works himself past the lap traffic of Jussi Niemann. Worth noting that the gap between Espartee and Newgok still stood at 1 second on track. Want to give a shout out to my boys Christian Steele and Josh Chim. Checking it out online. It's okay. We're going to see you in the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Do your great work there over at Banshee Autosports. But Dalla Donna, the gap 2.2 seconds right now, and he really has been pulling it out over the last couple of laps. He actually Espartee lost half a second, 6 tenths of a second in 2 laps here, and that is around a 22-second lap.
I'm just looking at as well the stint lengths at the moment. Everyone is looking low. They're around the 36-37 lap mark. Now, this is the mark where we lost Michele Constantini. This is where he saw his tyres hit the cliff and drive over the cliff. So I would expect to see cars down onto the pit lane in the next few laps, Will, and we are within that window where you can get to the end on a set of tyres and not have any big issues. 28 laps remaining in this race now, and Dallara, I think, is definitely now going to be thinking about pit stops along with everyone else.
Yeah, so it'll be worth having a look then, see if anyone's going to be brave and come on towards pit road early. The issue with a pit road early stop here, Jack, is that you lose the advantage early on, but if it stays green, you have the advantage to bring it back together. And of course, it does kind of slide a little bit at the end of the stint as well. So there's some big choices that need to be made in terms of strategy.
Strategy is definitely just going to be a big problem here, and I think it's going to be one of those things that you have to think about through your head, because you're going to be thinking about, right, when are people going to come down onto the pit lane? When are people going to think, right, is there also going to be a caution? Because caution means that everyone basically just gets a free pit stop.
Yeah. We've got Michele Constantini here. He is out of the race. He's come to talk to us. Michele, what happened?
Yeah, well, stayed out on all tires when everybody pitted. I was faster. I pulled a bit of a gap, but then, yeah, the car just went straight. I wasn't very confident with the set pretty much at all. And yeah, on all tires, the car just went straight. I'm not too bad about the pace, because it was pretty decent anyway. I was pulling a very nice gap with older tires. I wasn't good on fuel, but I was hoping for another yellow. But watching the race now, it would have not have been pretty. I mean, there was no yellow, so probably I would have needed to do another pit stop when everybody was good on fuel. But yeah, I just tried something different and it didn't work.
So talk about the tyres. We've seen that you really fell off after about 40 laps. What is the tyre length, do you think, in this car at this racetrack?
You can obviously pull a full tank worth of laps in the tires, obviously. But yeah, after, as you said, 40 laps, they start to fall off a bit, and the car gets understeery, which I don't really like. I prefer a loose race car when the tires fall off. But yeah, it's just it's a shame. Tried something different and didn't work. But yeah.
And final question: how hard has it been to adapt to this new IR18?
Actually, it's not different to the DW12. The aero is obviously different, and here at New Hampshire we're running single plane anyway in aero, talking about aero, and which is not what they run in real life, so we have to lift more and shift down the gears a lot more. So yeah, the cars are a little bit slow, and yeah, just have to lift, brake, and yeah, that's about it.
Thank you very much, Michele Constantini, then, here on Racesport TV. I'm actually having a look on board right now of your race leader, Jack. That is the driver of Alessandro Dallara, as he's struggling to put a lap on this lap traffic going on right now. And this shows the issue. This is why I compare this racetrack to a Bristol and Martinsville Speedway, as down to the inside he finally goes and he doesn't make that position there over the number 16 car. That is the driver, Scott Bolster. He dove down to the inside and wasn't able to make the move stick, and that has really allowed Esposito to close half a second in a lap.
The gap is now down to less than a second. Dallara is really struggling to get past Scott Bolster now, and it just looks as though Esposito is really making advantage of this. Less than 20 laps to go now. I really should expect to see these cars down onto pit lane soon. Dallara now has been 48, 49 laps on this set of tyres, and hopefully he hasn't worked them too hard. Lap times are now starting to fall a little bit away, Will, but Dallara is especially slow at the moment because of this lap traffic of Scott Bolster and Osman Essity. He's within 8 tenths now. He is coming back into this. He's all of a sudden the factor for this race lead.
Yeah, and this is one of the issues that you often get. Because of that dirty air on these Indy cars, it can make life very hard to pass, but allowing Esposito to close back up, even allowing new jocks to close back up a little bit then as they work themselves past the start-finish line once again. We are getting into the back end of this race. 17 laps to go here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and the gap is now down to 6 tenths of a second, and still Dallara cannot get the job done over the driver of Scott Bolster, who, by the way, is only on 2 lap older tyres than your race leader.
But he is slightly further down the field. He is a couple of laps down on your leader. Here we go. He's going to go look down to the inside into turn 1 and 2, and he's going to get that move done, luckily for Alessandro Dallara. But Austin Espity has also got to find a way around Scott Bolster, and if Espity has as much trouble as Dallara did, that gap will very quickly extend for that lead.
Yeah, and the gap's actually up to 1.1 seconds once again. So as soon as Espity got into that dirty air, he started to struggle. And that seems to be the issue all day long for Austin Espity. That car does not run as well in the dirty air. 15 laps to go then, New Hampshire on a speedway, and all of a sudden you start thinking about the fact that maybe Dallara has the opportunity to extend that lead. Ricky Gerhardt, by the way, versus Benjamin Gregory, that is currently scored at 0.7 of a second. That's going on for P6 and P7.
Yeah, Ricky Gerhardt has just been closing up onto Gregory. Gregory might be starting to struggle with his tyres. Obviously, probably approaching towards the end of a stint. As actually, it looks like the 4th position, Carvancho Kinsella, is just going to make his way down the inside of Ricky Gerhardt. But Gerhardt, at the moment, that gap is staying at about 1 second. I don't think Ricky is able to get close enough to Ben to actually make a challenge. No,
as actually the gap between Gerhardt and Gregory is just now extended to 1.2 seconds as Kinsella's gone down to the inside. Let's go back to Espity, though. His lap times, I mean, let's just have a look at it. He's been losing lap time over the last 3 laps or so. I think Espity right now is almost happy to settle for second.
I wouldn't expect him to be happy to settle for second. He'll want that win, but if second is all he can see with 12 laps remaining, I don't think he's going to push that car too much. Tyres are going to be a little bit of an issue there for him maybe at some point, and we just don't know. We've seen it happen to Constantini. We don't know whether it's going to happen to anyone else. I don't think anyone yet has proven to us that tyres are going to be an issue. So Espity at the moment, I think he's just going to be running for that second position and trying to hold off Newcastle. He's about 1.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, there's your fastest lap times of the day, and there you can see your movers and shakers as well. Dallara up 5 places, Benjamin Gregory up 10, Scott Bolster up 9 places here today. We've lost some big names, Henry Bennett in the #1 machine and Adam Blocker. They are both down 12 positions here today, but we've got to give the credit to Dallara. I mean, he used that strategy well for himself to get himself to the front of the field. There has been some issues along the way with Michele Constantini, for example, but Dallara does look very, very strong as they come now to 9 to go, and Austin Espity only gained a little bit like last time by after losing lap time for the last 5 laps.
Dallara always does look strong, and he always seems to be able to, whenever he pulls out a race and he has a strong one, he will dominate. And he did it in a round of the Classic IndyCar Series last year, and he's doing it again here today. And he's just showing how strong of a driver he is, and he's putting some of the greats in the likes of Austin Espity. He's actually showing them up a bit, I think, Will. And Austin's going to be probably slightly annoyed at that, but I think he'll be happy with second. He's run a pretty good race so far. He led the first portion of the race. He had a little bit of a trouble on the restart, and obviously had a challenge from Adam Blocker, which probably lost him a little bit of time. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how these last 8-7 laps actually pan out, because the gap is still around 1 second. It hasn't gone out to what it was, and it looks as though it might be starting to come back down. Yeah, and also Austin Espity has pulled away now 3 seconds ahead of Gognujoc, so that battle that we thought might well be developing isn't actually the case. There we are, Gognujoc on the exit of corner number 4, down towards the start-finish line again. 7 laps to go here, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So, in terms of the road to the 500 here, Jack, we're learning a little bit of information here and there, but I will say the number 17, that number 2 car, they seem to have dialed in that IR18 in terms of the long runs at the start of this season. Well, I mean, these cars, drivers have only had them for a week or so. They're going to be learning so much about how they handle and how they drive. I'm pretty sure most of the top teams have already been testing quite a lot at Indy and getting those setups just dialed in, Will, and doing some long runs. You'll probably see some 500-mile simulations from these teams before the end of the month, and getting ready for that month of May. I mean, it's still 2 months away, but these drivers are going to be wanting to learn as much as they can about these cars going into the Indy 500, because they will want to take full glory in that event. Yeah, and of course we've got the Indy Elite Series, Indy 500, that's coming up here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. That will be our starting point. A lot of shenanigans we played there, especially in terms of qualifying. Of course, the drivers will attempt to qualify for the second to next special event here on the iRacing service. We've got the Nürburgring 24 hours coming up soon, and then the greatest spectacle in all of sim racing. That is the iRacing Indianapolis 500, the longest running event
on iRacing history, and that is coming your way soon. Andrew Kinsella, let's talk about him real quick, because he is a driver who very well can be strong as we approach the month of May.
He is, obviously, he's still on the lead lap. He is the last car on the lead lap. Only your top 4 is left. Dallara has nearly lapped your whole field. And Andrew Kinsella, he's been quite quiet all day, I'd say, Will. And he's just keeping himself calm and keeping himself collected and just logging the laps, which is what you need to do. I mean, we're approaching the 2 laps to go stage now. And in fact, 2 laps to go. And Austin Espartee is now within a second of Alessandro Dallara. Could we have a battle for the lead coming onto the final lap? If we do, this could get very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of hard driving by Austin Espartee, but if he's got anything left in his tyres, this could well be it. They've both done 65 laps now on their tyres. The white flag will come out. There's 1 more lap to go here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Alexander Dallara is leading over Austin Espartee. Gorg Nujok 6 seconds back in 3rd. Almost a non-issue right now on board of Espartee, but he hasn't got the run through turn number 1 and 2, so this will mean that the driver of Alexander Dallara will work himself on the exit of corner number 4, and he will win week 1 in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Dallara doing the wiggle. He is your race winner in the number 17 machine. So the driver with the lowest tire rating here today, Jack, takes home the twin checkers.
That's impressive driving there from Alessandro Dallara. He's 2,200 iRacing, and he's just shown up guys who are 5K, and that's awesome from him. He's dominated the second half of this race, and as you just see, I think he's going to actually head down onto the front straight and go and celebrate a little bit. Nope, in fact, he's going to hit the wall. So Dallara just celebrating in style there without his front nose cone. Yep,
so there we are. Alessandro Dallara takes your victory here today. Here's a look then at your final race results from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Well, Italy win. Italy, number 17 machine, lowest iRacing driver claims victory. Dallara wins from Austin Espartee, who comes home about 2/3 of a second behind your race winner. Gorg Nujok's in 3rd place, Andrew Kinsella in 4th, John Downing in 5th place. Then it's Benjamin Gregory, Ricky Gerhardt, Scott Bolstra, Igor Shukov, and then Jussi Nieminen, who rounds out your top 10. There's the remainder of your field. And well, we're going to take a quick break here on RaceSpot TV, and we'll be back with post-race coverage after these messages. Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line. The third round of the Indy Elite Series takes place this coming Sunday at the Milwaukee Mile as we continue the road to the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Of course, we've also then got ourselves in just 9 days' time the first round of the Logical Classic IndyCar Series from Homestead Miami Speedway. That'll be March 25th here, Racesport TV, iRacing Live, 6 p.m. GMT. As we come back then to our coverage of this, the first round of the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series, and I've said it all day long, Jack, we're on the road to the 500. Wasn't the most entertaining race, but it did teach us quite a bit.
Told us quite a bit about the cars, taught us quite a bit about the drivers as well, just to see how everyone's developed over the winter and getting ready for that Indy 500 in a couple of months. And I think still there's a lot of learning to go for a lot of these drivers going into the 500, but we're already seeing that there's some very strong names that could come out from this IR18, and I definitely think a lot of drivers have learned a lot of information, and they'll definitely be going to have a look at the telemetry after this race just to see what they can improve. Yep,
so let's talk to a couple of drivers. Let's start then with the driver who won the race here today, the driver of Alessandro Dallara, claiming victory. Week number 1, season opener here on the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series. And well, Alessandro, congratulations.
Thank you, Will. Thanks to everybody watching the stream today. It was a pleasure to race for you. The goal was just to put up a nice show, some nice passes, some nice light jobs like you do NASCAR style, even if the flat track doesn't help a lot, but I think I did a pretty good job. I was really surprised.
You're up 5 places from where you start. We see the graphic there on the left-hand side of your screen. The traffic seems to be a big factor here today, in that you could pass them early, but then you'd almost be stuck behind. So how did you use the strategy, and how did you use the cautions that we had to get yourself to the front?
I didn't want to see any caution at all. My car was really, really good on the long run, even if I never done more than 3 laps before the race. So it was new to me. Passing people was really tough. As you can see at the beginning of the race, I tried to pass on the low side Henry and other guys, but didn't work. So then I came up with the idea of trying to slide job everybody. Even if it's not a NASCAR, but it's an IndyCar, doesn't matter a lot. So slide jobs were the better way to pass people. Lap traffic was obviously an issue, but even if they tried to race me hard, then pace obviously was different, and I succeeded to pass the lap car and pull away from Austin, who did a really nice race. And obviously I hope we could fight a little bit, because in the end the race was boring, you know. Spectators want to see passes, we have to do that. So.
Of course, next time out, we head ourselves to Mazzarate or Laguna Seca, which I've seen cars go 3 wide there in the Classic IndyCar Series before. But I want to ask you the question here, Alessandro. How hard has it been to adapt to this new IR18?
It was pretty quick. Doesn't change much a lot from the old car, so it wasn't that bad. I just done some fixed races and didn't spend much time tweaking the setups. Big shout out to Christopher and his URS setup. Was really, really good. Base setup, just some tweaks to the front wing, and that's it. Very nice chance to get into IndyCar for everybody, having such a nice setup and such a nice guy providing them. So if anybody wants to join this series, they have already a baseline to work out.
Well, thank you so much. So before we let you go, Alessandro, as you're the winner here today, who do you want to give a shout out to?
Big shout out to my team, 1050 Barbonera Racing. Marco was very proud of the effort we put in this race. And Simone, my nice crew chief, we just put up a nice setup in the last 10 minutes before the race, and I'm really happy for them and our sponsor, our Lexus IndyCar powered starting VP10 IndyCar. So thank you to everybody watching the stream and to you guys providing such a nice broadcast all season long.
Well, thank you very much, Alessandro Dallara, coming home with your race victory here today. Let's do some quick fire interviews, and we're going to start with Jack, stood by with Austin Espartee.
Austin, first of all, congratulations on the second place. You dominated the first half of the race. You looked very strong for the race win. What happened in the second half? Did the car just not feel as good in the dirty air?
When Alessandro beat me out of the pits on that caution, I knew that I was going to be screwed, because the car in dirty air is just like the DW12 in a sense. I mean, you can get a little bit closer, but it's still tough to pass, and it's always tough to pass in New Hampshire. So I knew if I could get a run early in the run that I could get him, but he started to pull a gap, and I almost had him, but it was just the dirty air behind him, and I'm satisfied with the second. I knew I had one of the better cars today, just from qualifying and dominating early on, having that huge lead. But there's always next week.
Obviously, quite a small grid today, only 17 cars. How was the traffic management out there? Because obviously, as you said, New Hampshire is a hard circuit to pass on. We saw Alessandro have a bit of a problem with a back marker of Scott Bolster, and obviously you seem to have no problems getting past him. Just how was traffic management for you today?
It wasn't too bad. I was able to go into the corner. I anticipated that they were going to be braking earlier or lifting earlier in the corner, so I just kind of outbrake them in a sense and kind of just drifted around the corner just to get around them and tuck in. I mean, there were some cars that were a little bit of an issue, but I was able just to get hold of that draft and just outpace them to the corner and get the better run off.
Now, obviously, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank today?
Thanks to Andrew Kinsella for the race setup, and to John HD, and still a little fuzzy on how to pronounce his last name, for the awesome Q set that he put together this week.
And there you go, there's your second place finisher, Austin Espartee. Back to you, Will.
Yeah, let's go through then. Gorg Nudrox coming home third place here today. Well, Gorg, third place, we saw in a lot of battles. We knew passing's been hard here today. Talk us through your race.
While it was really intense, it was the first race for me at New Hampshire. I don't like this track at all, but I'm glad I did race today.
So track itself's been tough, of course. Passing's been tough. Getting yourself a podium, though, in terms of the championship, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, it was only the first race. A lot can happen. We will see.
Vortex Sim Racing driver Gorg Nudrox then coming home third place. Andrew Kinsella coming home in P number 4. Well, Andrew, talking to you just a couple of days ago, of course, in terms of the Indy Elite Series. P4 here today, how does it stack up for you?
It was an okay race. To be honest, I was hoping for better, but we got that patch for the car last night or yesterday, and I just didn't really have time to make the set happy with where I wanted it, especially in traffic. So I'll settle for P4. We were at least competitive, and Austin was able to find a line that worked for him. I just wasn't able to find the line quite until that last bit of the race there.
Next time out, Laguna Seca road course. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, this car is really fun on road courses. We'll have to see. There's quite a bit more tire wear than we're used to with this car, so we'll have to see how that plays out in terms of strategy, but it's got a lot of downforce on the road courses, so it should be good.
Andrew Kinsella coming home P number 4 today, and that's what we've got to look forward to next week, Jack, because we head ourselves from a very tough oval to a very tough road course at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Laguna Seca is famous in the motorsport world. It's obviously where we saw Zanardi pull off that awesome pass in Champ Car all those years ago, and I think seeing those Indy cars is going to be the first road circuit of the series for this series, and I think it's going to be interesting to see which drivers obviously excel there. We saw Dallara and Austin Espartee dominate the front of this field today, and I just obviously we're going to happen next week and just see what happens to see who dominates. And I think it's going to be a completely different race to do with strategy, because that track is going to be hot. It's in the middle of the desert.
Oh, yes, indeed. Don't forget, tomorrow, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series will return. Martin Kroenke is just one race away from making history in terms of, well, what has basically been an 8-year record held by Gregor Hutu. It's going to be a fascinating season in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. New names, new drivers, new teams, new excitement. I'll tell you one thing, Kroenke needs to watch out because so many drivers are hot on his tail. Can Team Redline find a way of breaking the streak? What about FAGT Racing, about Inex Racing, Apex Online, and also, of course, the likes of Radicals, Vortex Sim Racing, so on and so forth. Catch it all tomorrow here on RaceSpot TV. Also streaming live on Facebook Live and on Twitch TV. And that's going to be a great one, Jack.
I'm so looking forward to that first round of the season. Obviously, Martin Kroenke has that opportunity to take the record off of Gregor Hutu, and if he does, that's going to be a big story tomorrow. But there's so many strong drivers coming into this series. FAGT Racing, new team for this year. They showed their potential in the VRS iRacing GT World Championship first round at Bathurst by finishing second on their debut, although the drivers weren't debuting, it was only the team, and the drivers look so strong coming into this. Martin Kroenke has got big and stiff competition this year, and it's going to be so interesting to watch. I highly recommend tuning in. I know I will be.
Yeah, of course, Sunday in terms of IndyCar coverage, we have got ourselves round number 3 of the Indy Elite Series. That will be taking place in the Milwaukee Mile, midnight GMT in terms of the United Kingdom. That will be Monday morning. Of course, we've also got ourselves a nice little bit of action coming up in terms of Sunday night skippies. That will be at a track we do not yet know for round number 7. Also got ourselves iRacing Dirt Night tonight. We've got the Midgets at Lanier Raceway Park, Global Rallycross at Daytona, and USAC 360 at Eldora. Dirt Night is back, and it is bigger and better than ever. That is all we got time for here, though, on Friday Night Prime Time. We want to give a quick shout out, of course, to our friends who do all the hard work for us. It's one about our trackcams22.com, the TV cameras that you've been seeing all race long here today. Our overlay partner, Andreas One and And1 Design. Oh yeah, that's the official helmet of Valtteri Bottas for 2018. Overlay animation presented by Simon Grossman and AppGenere.im, and a live timing and scoring shout out and thank you to Nick Thisson. That guy over there has been Jack Stars. I am Will Vincent. We'll see you tomorrow for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and Sunday for the Indy Elite Series. Yeah, we really are on the road to the Indy 500.